We're learning more information about a man from Venezuela who stole over $24,000 in cash at the Gate City Bank in West Fargo in early November. A 25-year-old Henry Tice was arrested for felony theft on November 2nd. Court documents say that police pulled him over for having a taillight out. After further investigation, police say that Tice told officers that he was not a citizen from the United States, and they ended up finding multiple items in his vehicle, including a computer keyboard with cables in which investigators believe that he used to hack into an ATM. Now, West Fargo Police Chief, he spoke about how the arrest was made.
During that traffic stop, starts talking to the individual, is here illegally.
Yeah.
Is not a citizen of the United States. And as he questions him, he ends up finding that there was over $24,000 cash in his vehicle.